Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Always have to double check. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for spending this evening with me. Thank you for waiting. I was trying to find, honestly, all the names of the influencers that Russia did sanction today. And FBI does not reveal it, DOJ does not reveal it. So let's work with what we have, right? They sanctioned one company that worked with Russian RT, and I'm jumping the gun here, I know. Um, so we will be doing our own research, shall we? And talk about who are those influencers that are ultimately propaganda folks from Russia. That did happen today, and which was really the big news that both at the White House, National Security Council, the FBI, Department of Justice, all talked about today that the United States imposed sanctions on Russian company RT, which stands for Russia Today, but also those whom they paid. And so we're going to talk about that in a second as well. But thank you for joining. If that's your first time, please comment, please share your thoughts, your feedback, even corrections. Perhaps something that I'm saying contradicts what you know. So if there's a source, we can certainly, I gladly stay corrected. Hi, Michael. Hello. Hi, Brandon. Oh, thank you. Then I stop. Oh, thank you, Patty. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for joining. By the way, before we start and everybody gathers, next week, Tuesday, we have our watch party for the debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. So please sign up, RSVP. The email is already out. Today's email is out. So go to your email. If you're not subscribed, get your free email, onest.substack.com, and we get your newsletter with all the actual news. I also started a new rubric there. Let me know how you like it. Quick news. So it's like 2-3 sentences for all the news, so you don't read entire articles. Just to save you time, if it's available and you don't need, a lot of talk about one piece of news. So let me know how you like it. And there I also feature the RSVP link to our private watch party. So I will be streaming it again on Twitter and on YouTube. I will be streaming the debate, but also if you want to watch it together with like-minded people, just drop your email and join us. It will be fun with actual real people. Okay. Awesome. Yes. Busy news day, indeed. Busy news day, kind of busy, kind of not. I'm still digesting a couple of news, and I want to dig deeper, specifically in the Russian propaganda thing, because it's been announced that Russia is charged, but then we still don't know the names, right? I wish it would say that, look, RT paid this company, and we know it, right? And I will have a readout on that. But then also they employed this and this influencers. So you guys and all of us could then unsubscribe and say, okay, Tucker Carlson, paid by Kremlin, unsubscribe. Not that I'm subscribing, but you know what I mean. But it's so like watered down. We did this, we shut down this. Meanwhile, I went on the RT.com. It's still working. They're still spreading propaganda. So we're going to talk about that too. But first and foremost, let's talk about the most tragic, or one of the most tragic, unfortunately, that's the times we live in, news for today about the shooting in Georgia. So at the time when kids and families and parents and grandparents and aunties and uncles have to, deservingly celebrate the beginning of the school year, today was a tragic day in Georgia, close to Atlanta, 45 miles roughly from Atlanta. At the school, Georgia High School, there was a shooting. At the latest, 4 people were pronounced dead, 2 students, 2 teachers. Correct me if I'm wrong if I didn't check the latest. The very latest. The suspect is just 14 years old. And the suspect was charged as an adult and remains in custody, is alive. There were some news. That's why I wasn't rushing, to report things. There were news that the suspect was shot and is dead. No, it's alive and in custody. At least 9 people were injured. It's the throwback to, the deja vu's, watching those footage where kids are running from the school. They're crying. Their lives have changed today beyond return. And so many people got affected. And then you ask yourself, is it really necessary? How come we're still experiencing that? How come we're still talking about common sense gun laws? I understand if you live in Alaska and you have to defend yourself from a bear, you need your gun. But I don't understand if you need that in New York City. That's a question, right? But then, even if you need that gun, why don't we ask for IDs? Why can people get the guns online? How come kids can have access to their parents' guns? Because if somebody is 14, certainly that was not available legally. So why don't we have policy? Why don't we impose rules on gun storage also? How come kids get a hold of it? Because that has been the reason many times when it comes to high school shootings and school shootings in general. So Karine Jean-Pierre today at the White House press briefing, she began, of course, by addressing the shooting in Georgia. So let's take a listen.
Yet another horrific shooting. Now, as a parent myself, I know the anxiety that comes with sending your kid out into the world every day, living with the real fear of the worst can happen. So please know that our hearts are with those families in Winder, Georgia, who are forced to face this act of senseless violence. I want to let you know that the president and the vice president have both been briefed, and his administration will continue coordinating with federal, state, and local officials as we receive more information.
How many times have we heard that? I'm nowhere near Atlanta, but I'm sick of it. I hope you are too. I hope we can vote people in. Let's go back to what's in our hands, right? Because we can talk about thoughts and prayers, and I hope we pray, and those who offer prayers do actually pray. But what can we do? We can elect people to the Congress, right, to the House, that are sharing our belief that the common sense gun laws are needed. So that is what we can do. And this is the election year. Yes, we're focusing on the presidential election, but there is also election all up and down the ballot. So let's keep our hat on a swivel. Let's talk to our neighbors. Let's talk to our friends and frenemies and even enemies. Let's discuss that among each other. Let's not vote somebody because you like their brand, or maybe their speech is so enthusiastic, or maybe they do hands or whatever. Let's vote for policies. Back to basics. Elected officials are elected by us to represent our views and our needs and defend our values there where it matters, when they are passing laws or refusing to pass those laws. Those are not idols. Those are not celebrities. Those are not folks we admire and we build a fan club. If you want to be a fan of Taylor Swift, who is performing and she's fabulous, and we buy the bracelets and all that kind of stuff, we know all the songs, that's fun because she's a singer, she's a performer, right? We want to be, and have fun. Yes. Trump, neither Harris nor Biden are those folks that we need to idolize, admire, and be fans of. I like this administration, right? I do, and I openly say that. I like Biden-Harris administration. I'm sure I'm going to like, I guesstimate I will like Harris and Walz administration. But certainly I do have certain questions. I have questions about Ukraine. We're going to discuss that. I have questions as to why nothing physically ever, and I mean legally, prosecution-wise, why nothing ever happens to Trump. How come he is in power? How come we're still talking about 50-50 election? 12 years in. He grabbed us by where he promised, and we're sitting there hoping he doesn't win again. How is it possible? Why were no steps taken? Talking about Republicans, the actual Republicans, rhinos, right? That's what the reference is these days. Why didn't you cut out that cancerous MAGA party inside your party? Why did they take over? Why didn't you do anything about it? Because nothing about whatever happens to the Republican Party resembles Republican Party values. It has nothing with conservatism. It has everything with neo-Nazis, with fascism, with concentration camps, and so on and so forth. Project 2025, it has everything to do more with Hitler than even with Bush or, Republicans. That's who started this nation. But what is this? Why don't they feel, and maybe you are watching, why don't you feel responsible for creating this monster? Why it is constantly on Democrats and on liberals to defend the monster? You don't like what he says. You don't agree with what he does. But you want him to win so your party wins. That party has nothing. Have you ever seen, an animal, maybe like a bug, that is eaten by whatever, spiders or like ants or whatever, right? So you see like it's a shell of a crab, let's say, right? And you touch it and there's like everything eaten inside. There's just a shell of a crab, but inside everything is already gone. That's what I imagine. You want that label to win when they will absolutely not just not represent your values, but take your rights away. Are you okay with that? Because that's the label you're going for. Why do you care about Republicans, Democrats, this and that? So, in good news today, Liz Cheney finally made the turn. Her brother made the turn. He said, I'm signing up. I'm a Democrat now. I'm voting for Harris. And finally, Liz Cheney, figured it out. Take a look.
Not only is what I just said about the danger that Trump poses something that should prevent people from voting for him, but I don't believe that we have the luxury of writing in candidates' names, particularly in swing states. And as a conservative, as someone who believes in and cares about the Constitution, I have thought deeply about this, and because of the danger that Donald Trump poses, not only am I not voting for Donald Trump, but I will be voting for Kamala Harris.
Finally, right? At least 2 months before the election, 62 days and counting. At least you figure it out. Good. I remember 2 weeks ago or a week ago, remind me, please, if you remember yourself, when she was talking, Liz Cheney was talking about embryos and protecting embryos, and they have to have rights like humans, and no abortion, 9 months, whatever, just resembling everything that Trump says. So something did happen. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for all of us. Now, back to the shooting, unfortunately. Kamala Harris today held a rally in New Hampshire, and she began her speech, her remarks, again, talking about the shooting in Georgia. Now, this video is 2 minutes, 42 seconds, but I want us all to focus on what she says.
So before I begin, I do want to say a few words about this tragic shooting that took place this morning in Winder, Georgia. We're still gathering information about what happened, but we know that there were multiple fatalities and injuries. And, our hearts are with all the students, the teachers, and their families, of course. And we are grateful to the first responders and the law enforcement that were on the scene. But this is just a senseless tragedy on top of so many senseless tragedies. And it's just outrageous that every day in our country, in the United States of America, that parents have to send their children to school worried about whether or not their child will come home alive. It's senseless. It is, we've got to stop it. And we have to end this epidemic of gun violence in our country once and for all. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. So we will continue, of course, to send our prayers and our thoughts to the families and all those who were affected, including, I'm going off script right now, but listen, at the last year, I started a college tour, and I traveled our country meeting with our young leaders, right? And so it was college-age young leaders. So I did trade schools, colleges, universities, community colleges. By the way, I love Gen Z. I just love Gen Z. Right? But I'll tell you, one of the things I asked every time I went to the auditorium, and it would be filled with these young leaders, students, and I'd ask them, raise your hand if at any point between kindergarten and 12th grade you had to endure an active shooter drill. And for the young leaders who are here who are raising their hand, I'm telling you, every time the auditorium was packed and almost every hand went up. You know, a lot of us, I'll speak about myself, you know, we had, well, I grew up in California, earthquake drills, we had fire drills, but our kids are sitting in a classroom where they should be fulfilling their God-given potential, and some part of their big, beautiful brain is concerned about a shooter busting through the door of the classroom. It does not have to be this way. It does not have to be this way.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and that made me think, you know, when did I graduate school? Like 20 years ago. Certainly, I don't remember growing up in that, right? I studied in Ukraine. I grew up in Germany. We never had that type of drill. And me being an introvert, full of anxiety and all that, I was harassed at school and all that. Add that on top of all the fears that a teenager is going through, that is insane. That is insane. So if we did not grow up in this situation, still we are pretty messed up. But anyway, with everything concerning. But we did not have to face this fear. So why do we allow the next generation to have these fears and to face this and for that to become normalcy? And if you're interested in this topic, just remembered, a few months ago, I interviewed the head of the White House Secret Service who served for 24 years, from Nixon to Obama administration. He's retired now. He lives in Florida, and he dedicates his entire life to protecting children from the shootings. And moreover, he is focused on how to create a system that would protect children without causing this anxiety, and what needs to be done in case, God forbid, the shooter, as Kamala Harris said, busts through the doors. What needs to be done? And in that interview, he said, listen, it has become a business. It has become a business. There are companies that are getting those exclusive contracts with schools, so they would be hosting those drills. They would be providing materials. It has become a business, like almost like an internet provider, right? You have to see in your zone who is available. So he's like, that is a huge industry. So that industry constantly lobbies with the Republican Party not to do anything against those shootings and to prevent them, because that's what makes them money. So if you're interested, I'm gonna post a link to his interview on Twitter, and it's on YouTube there, so you can listen to it. It's about 30 minutes. He did protect presidents, and he talks about the K9, dog that retired with him and is with him now, and shares. Also, he shared how would Trump be protected in case he is in jail and runs for president, so for kicks and giggles. We had some audience questions. So it's pretty good interview, but very useful. And he constantly told me, he said, I hope I don't talk to you next time when there's another shooting. And here we go. So if you're interested to learn from a professional who protected first families, please go ahead and listen. Now let's talk about continuing at the rally. What did happen is that Kamala Harris revealed a pretty robust plan, bold plan to boost small businesses. So let's listen to the kickoff, and then I'm going to read out the key points, because if you are running a business, or you're just interested, or somebody who's an entrepreneur, this is a big deal. This is big F deal. Listen.
Now I'm setting what's some I'm sure are going to call a very ambitious goal, but you know what? I think we should admire ambition in each other. So I want to see 25 million new small business applications by the end of my first term. And to help achieve this, we will lower the cost of starting a new business. So here's the thing. On average, it costs about $40,000 to start a new business in America. That is a great financial barrier for a lot of folks, and it can hold entrepreneurs back. And the current tax deduction for a startup is just $5,000, okay? So then you got to make up the delta there. Got to figure out how you're going to do that. Not everyone has access to that kind of wealth and capital. So part of my plan is we will expand the tax deduction for startups to $50,000. It's essentially a tax cut for starting a small business.
So ultimately, key points. Kamala Harris wants to see 25 million new small businesses registered by the end of her first term. That's number one. She says it's ambitious, but let's welcome ambitious people. She also increases startup deductions from 5,000 to 50,000, and it will introduce low to no interest loans for existing businesses. So not just new businesses, but also existing businesses. Harris calls for a fair tax code, advocating a 28% tax rate for those earning $1 million and above, to ensure the wealthy pay their fair share. In contrast, she criticized Trump's proposals, which include cutting loans for small businesses and introducing a federal sales tax. Also, she said, he will impose tariffs, which is essentially a sales tax, because anything that you impose on your seller, right, it will be mirrored in the pricing that you will get, right? So it will be higher, and will be ultimately passed to consumers, to us. So that's essentially like a sales tax, because the prices will go up all around the country. Now, she also talked about giving opportunity for those folks in the rural areas, because it's not like somebody's lacking talent or work ethic or ideas, but lacking definitely support, guidance, support. So she will be introducing those business hubs and not institutions, but companies and organizations that will be supporting entrepreneurs in rural areas, such as where she was in New Hampshire. In terms of the tax rate, I see some billionaires, like Mark Cuban, who's, by the way, now at the Hoops for Harris live stream. He supports that. He says, well, she listens, because Biden wanted to do 39+%, 39.3 or something. Now that's 28. Currently it's 21. So it's, but certainly the things have to be introduced. And also specifically for millionaires and billionaires, because claiming it leads to investment and excusing them, giving them a way out not to pay tax at all, does not lead to investment. Let's just be frank, right? It just adds to the problems we already have. She was very specific in her policy speech, so I expect there will be no articles about her being unclear. I'm sure there will be. Keith, we're all gonna be surprised. I'm sure there will be something different then. I was a construction contractor. I love her plan. Yeah, and I think, for small businesses, this is very important. Just look about it, think about it. Through the internet, you can build a business and run it. But people are lacking knowledge, right? If you haven't studied business, right? And then let's say you have to buy inventory. You don't have the budget. Also, you don't know how to go about it. So you end up making mistakes, ending up with loans that aren't favorable, and then stopping yourself on your journey to building whatever you desire. So certainly having first advice, and second budget, and third, having favorable tax credits, that's a way about it. So let's talk about economy now. All the details about it, by the way, are in your email. So take a look. There is a breakdown. U.S. Department of the Treasury new report reveals $3.5 billion in clean energy investments through the Inflation Reduction Act's Low-Income Communities Bonus Credit Program. So in its first year, the program funded over 49,000 solar facilities, expected to generate nearly 2 billion kilowatts of clean energy annually, equivalent of $270 million in savings. This initiative targets underdeserved areas, including affordable housing and Indian lands, addressing high energy costs faced by low-income families and promoting clean energy adoption nationwide. So also sticking to economy, right? Because folks are saying, well, Trump, under him. I don't like this whole thing under him because I'm a visual person. Anyway, whew, under his regime, the economy was so much better, right? And then we're so tired already explaining why, right? It was before COVID, during COVID, after COVID. Things have repercussions, but whatever. That's the main sort of argument that he knows about economy. He's a billionaire, failed billionaire who filed for bankruptcies many times, but whatever. He knows what the economy is. Now, if we listen to the experts, and today, major, well, it's not an endorsement, but major approval, to put it this way. Goldman Sachs predicts stronger GDP and job growth if Democrats sweep White House and Congress. Also reported by Fortune. That was Fortune, is Reuters. Goldman Sachs sees biggest boost to U.S. economy from Harris win. So what do they say? New economic projections from Goldman Sachs are cautioning that U.S. GDP faces a hit in the case of a win for Donald Trump, while predicting that U.S. economic growth would likely get the biggest boost in the coming 2 years from the Democrats, headed by Kamala Harris. Under Harris, listen to this, job growth would be 10,000 a month higher than if Trump wins with a divided government, and 30,000 higher than with the Republican sweep. So it's a major change. If folks can read, and folks want jobs, and folks want good economy, certainly that's a very favorable argument in favor of course, Harris and Walz's administration. Now, but still, again, Keith, to your point, to everybody's point, will they ever stop questioning what Kamala Harris did? And so today, Kamala HQ, very good account to follow on social media, posted, what did Kamala Harris do, or what has she done? And I'll post it. So she set a new record for the most tie-breaking Senate votes cast by a VP in history, invested $370 billion to combat climate change and expand energy production, expanded the child tax credit to cut child poverty in half, provided $450 billion in relief to 6 million small businesses, won $20 billion settlement for homeowners during the foreclosure crisis, took on for-profit colleges that scammed Americans, led the push for the Domestic Workers Bill of Rights Act, federal worker unionization, and overtime pay for farm workers, introduced a student loan forgiveness program for mental health professionals, won settlements from companies that underpaid workers and violated labor laws, and so on and so forth. So this is just like 1/3 of the list, but you get the point. I'm going to post it on Twitter, repost it. Okay, let the folks know if they're asking what has she done or what has the administration done. Please refer to the document attachment 1A. Okay, very good thing to put together. Bravo. Mark Cuban likes her plan. Yes, as I mentioned, he is approving. It seems her plan is to announce her policy platform piece by piece. I like the rollout, but she needs to stop the leaks press getting noticed before she can reveal it. It's from the aide, right? Whoever is with her, and then they're in the airplane, and then something they say, somebody asks something, and they say sure, and so then they reveal it as news because somebody agreed, and then their eyes approved. So that's where it comes from usually. But certainly I like it, right? I like it, Picasso. If it's revealed one by one, then we can digest it, and we can discuss it, and we can memorize it, and we can understand it, rather than battling out, something like Project 2025, where we have to dig to find out what the hell is going to happen. It's like a book. You have to see what's happening in the next chapter. Are we alive yet? Certainly will not happen for the Harris Walls, but still. Let's talk about Trump. We have good news. Manhattan DA Bragg's team informs Justice Merchan that Trump's renewed bid to transfer his case to federal court has been rejected, and says there is no need to delay his sentencing on that particular basis. September 18th. September 18th. Now, Nick Fuentes, please tell me before I show you his video, is he a MAGA guy? Because in my understanding, he was always a MAGA guy. Like Nick Fuentes, who went to the DNC and said, I'm undercover because he bought a bunch of Kamala Harris merch. Thank you, Nick. And dressed up and said, I'm undercover at the DNC, which is like, you got a badge, you got verified. What do you mean you're undercover? What are you talking about? I crapped up so hard when I saw that I got filled incorrectly. Are you referring to? Okay, anyway, Nick Fuentes, either he's waking up or he's playing or whatever, but they try to now figure out what the hell happens with Trump. Maybe he is not doing whatever we expected him to do. Listen to this.
2020 comment. It's like, wow, that's how pathetic it's gotten. He's admitting, he says, oh, I lost by a whisker. So what was the point? Like, what's the point of any of it? You lost in 2020? Seriously? I mean, what are we even doing anymore? Then you're a loser. Then you're a loser. You just lost. Then you lost to Joe Biden. You deserve to be charged. If he admits that he lost, then that actually vindicates the DOJ charge against him. Because the charge is that he knew he lost, but he lied to defraud the people. That's the DOJ's charge. So why did we do Stop the Steal? Why did anyone go to January 6th? Why is anyone sitting in jail? Why did anything bad happen to anybody? Why did everyone get censored? Why is everything bad that has happened to the people that are involved, why did that need to happen if you're just going to walk it all back and say, oh, I lost? Well, it would have been good to know that.
As the potion, sort of wearing out and they're waking up, or they're just trying to motivate him and we need to stop the steal. Anybody, please pass the tissue. And thank you, Keith. That was Charlie Kirk. Okay, for me, it looks same. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Good for you. Continue. Please continue. Yesterday, we spoke about Ducey at the White House press briefing when he was asking how Kamala Harris has different accents. Well, today, he praised Biden. Can you imagine he praised Biden? He actually said it. Well, he twisted it, but he did say it. Let's take a look.
Okay, Peter.
Thank you. President Biden's approval rating is soaring. It's up 13% all the way to 48%. Does it bother the president that people are so pleased that he is retiring?
Am I hearing a little twang in your voice, Peter? A little something in your...
I know better. No, but you guys keep telling us to appreciate him on the way out about the Inflation Reduction Act and things like that.
I'm glad that you listen to me when I'm up here. Look, here's what I can say. I think what the American people appreciate is indeed what we have been able to do in the past several years. When you think about inflation is falling with income while incomes are climbing, right? You think about Medicare is finally being able to negotiate lower drug costs. This president, this administration has been able to beat Big Pharma. That's a big deal.
So, but I mean, he wanted to be mean, but he kind of like offered praise for Biden. Why do they keep letting Doofus? It's a first row. She has to go by the rules, and I explained it to you. The White House Correspondents Association is running it. They're rotating. This time it's Politico for a year runs the White House Correspondents Association, and so they assign the seats. And then whoever sits in the first row, that's the first questions you get. And then the second row, third row, whoever is standing never gets asked questions. So it's musical chairs. Yeah, so that explains why he's asked. Peter spins more than the ballerina. Woo, yeah, that needs to be a meme. That needs to be a meme. Yeah. So sometimes they send this blonde woman, I don't always forget her name, who's like spinning everything. She spins even faster. She's a faster ballerina. When it comes to Biden, it's like she gets energized to do so. But let's talk about, again, what happened today to Russian propaganda, folks. So, State Department takes action against Kremlin-backed media interference in 2024 U.S. election. My only question is, why is it happening now, just 2 months in between, before the election? Next time, let's start earlier, okay? Because that crap has been happening already since 2020 and before 2016, right? That's how we got the Trump. So, the Trump, yeah. So let's be frank. Why now? But good that it happens. In a coordinated effort to counteract Kremlin-backed media operations, the U.S. Department of State announced 3 significant steps today aimed at thwarting Russian attempts to influence the 2024 U.S. elections. The Kremlin's track record of targeting adversaries includes illegal invasions and unjust imprisonment, cyber attacks, and meddling in foreign elections. Recently, it has been revealed that RT, formerly known as Russia Today, has expanded its role from a media organization to actively contracting with a private company to pay Americans to disseminate Kremlin propaganda and interfere in U.S. elections. RT's leadership is reportedly aware of these activities. Okay, I have a note that I have to show you pictures. Let me see. Maybe not. Okay, not yet. In response, the Department of State is implementing measures to curb these covert influence operations. These actions include a new visa restriction policy, designations under the Foreign Missions Act for RT's parent company, Россия Сегодня, and its subsidiaries, RIA Novosti, RT, TV Novosti, Sputnik, and Ruptly. And a rewards for justice offer to incentivize information on these operations. So I think its reward is about $10 million for this. If you have any information, go ahead. Today's announcement underscores the U.S. government's commitment to protecting its democratic institutions from foreign interference. Now, so what did happen? RT is spreading nonsense. It says now, let's read from the FBI first. So the FBI says, according to the court's documents, RT, formerly known as Russia Today, is a state-controlled media outlet funded and directed by the government of Russia. Over at least the past year, RT and its employees, including Kalashnikov, great name, and Afanasieva, deployed nearly $10 million to covertly finance and direct a Tennessee-based online content creation company. They call it Company One. In turn, U.S. Company One published English language videos on multiple social media channels, including TikTok, Instagram, X, and YouTube. Since publicly launching in or about November 2023, U.S. Company One has posted nearly 2,000 videos that have garnered more than 16 million views on YouTube alone. Many of the videos posted by U.S. Company One contain commentary on events and issues in the U.S., such as immigration, inflation, and other topics related to domestic and foreign policy. While the views expressed in the videos are not in uniform, most are directed to the publicly stated goals of the government of Russia and RT to amplify domestic divisions in the United States. So the company they implied is called Teneta, Teneta. Teneta employs 6 influencers. All of them have 2+ million followers on Twitter. Also, all of them are monetized on Twitter. So that's another source of income. That's where Russians and Saudis, right, invested in Twitter. You get monetized, you get paid. I'm monetized on Twitter too, and I get my $10. It's just like crazy. And I'm asking them to stop, take me out of that thing because I don't want them to have any information on me. But anyway, once you hit something, you like stats, you have to be monetized, whatever. But this is like a $10 thing. Now, in their case, they're paid through X as a payment, right? It's called monetization, but it's not the monetization, let's say liberal or democratic influencers get. That's exact payment that they deserve or their contract is agreed to. Now, when it comes to Teneta, they are they're paying $10 million. They're paid $10 million, and Tenet Media. They're in Tennessee. So you see here whom they employ is Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, Lawrence Southern, Dave Rubin, and two others. So if you go to Tenet, I think watchtenetmedia.com or something like that, you get all those six. But those are the most prominent influencers from MAGAville, let's say, on Twitter. Now, of course, they also have appearances on YouTube and Instagram and all this social media. Now, in terms of your question here, no live. I'm so sorry. You should post this lives to YouTube. It's right now on YouTube. So Onest Network, ONEST Network. It's on YouTube. It's currently running on YouTube. That's about Peter. Should check the financials of the House Freedom Caucus too. I agree, Marjorie's at least. That's my whole point. Thank you, Keith. That's my whole point. Can we reveal a list? Because that, if you want to affect the election positively, reveal the list of all those folks, right? From Tucker Carlson plus the employees. And then I wonder, some of you have asked, can those gray marks, right? Like the gray check marks on Twitter, can they be monetized and paid? Is Marjorie Taylor Greene and company paid by Twitter? Because that could be a way to pay them for their content that they're producing. Just a suggestion. I really would love that to be revealed. Why do we have to protect their identity? Why? They're messing up with our democracy, for God's sakes. Why? Okay. So John Kirby, of course, he was at the White House press briefing, and he talked about this as well. So I want to show you a video as to what he had to say on it. Take a listen.
As you saw today, the Department of Justice, Department of Treasury, and the State Department took a series of coordinated actions against foreign actors associated with the Russian government who are attempting to covertly influence our elections. Specifically, all these federal agencies revealed activities directed and funded by RT, formerly known as Russia Today, to covertly spread Russian government propaganda with the aim of reducing international support for Ukraine, bolstering pro-Russian policies and interests, and influencing voters here in the U.S. And in foreign elections as well. RT is no longer just a propaganda arm of the Kremlin. It is being used to advance covert Russian influence actions. Additionally, the Russian government is laundering influence and information operations through Kremlin-controlled commercial firms, such as the Social Design Agency, that work extensively at the direction and control of the Russian Federation. All of this activity was designed to funnel disinformation through outlets and social media influencers that a certain number of Americans find credible. We will not stand for that. So in addition to the law enforcement actions that were announced just a little bit ago by the Attorney General, the State Department announced a new policy to restrict visas for employees of Kremlin-supported media organizations that are affiliated with these covert activities. And they released a $10 million reward for justice for individuals associated with a Russian hacking group that's named Russian Angry Hackers Did It, or RADIT for short, as it's also known. The State Department also designated 6 RT-affiliated entities as foreign missions, a designation that now requires them to report information about their personnel and their property to the United States government. For their part, the Treasury Department is sanctioning 6 executives and officials affiliated with RT, 3 executives associated with other Kremlin-controlled organizations. And additionally, the Treasury Department is designating ANO Dialogue, a Russian government-founded nonprofit that uses artificial intelligence to create and distribute online Russian disinformation for use against election campaigns. The Treasury included ANO Dialogue's subsidiary and its executive officer in its sanctions as well. Now, Russia, of course, is not alone in its desire to destabilize our democracy. As you may recall, just last month, the United States government disclosed that Iran engaged in a series of cyber actions with the intent to gain access to the private communications of former President Trump and his campaign by way of associated political advisors. Those efforts were clearly intended to denigrate former President Trump and to compromise his political campaign. We made it clear then, and we make it clear again today, that this is unacceptable, and we won't stand for it either. Let me close with just two more thoughts, if I could. First, and most importantly, we are committed to protecting our democracy and our elections, regardless of the source or the target trying to interfere with them. As today's actions make clear, we have the ability to monitor these threats, to thwart them, to identify the actors involved, and to hold the actors involved accountable. We will continue to do so. These actions are the result of months of hard investigative and interagency cooperation, and we're grateful for the law enforcement, diplomatic, intelligence, and Treasury professionals who brought it all together.
Now, as recent as there's a time step here, no time step, but before I went live, really 2 minutes before that, RT is still available online. If you go to RT.com, there have 3 players on 3 different platforms that they're doing this, Rumbler and so on and so forth. So Washington shifts blame on Russia failing to deal with own issues. Woo! So it's still there. Just saying. Microsoft, years in, started disconnecting Russian companies from cloud services, including Microsoft 365 and Teams. The new sanctions affected all legal entities registered in Russia except for multinational companies. So suddenly, finally, they're disconnecting Russian folks from their cloud service. Keith says, it's kind of funny to hear Kirby say this. It's been an open secret for a long time. RT is Russian propaganda. Yeah, Julie's amazing. Yeah, has done good coverage for this and all the Russian media. Yeah, absolutely. All the while they're worried about migrants to support. Yeah, exactly. I've been at the White House in the briefing. And then I start doing my reports and people laugh, right? And they're still in that room. And I get like Bluetooth requests and I turn around and it's the RT guys. They always communicate with you through Bluetooth because then you can't track anything. Now think about those planes, Trump, Russian, Saudi plane standing and parking in DC. They only use Bluetooth to communicate with you. The same guy was in the State Department. The same guy is at Pentagon. I'm like, what do you want? So I sent him dick pics. But anyway, on another note, let's continue. The other thing, which is creepy, Cox Media, not that type of, anyway, that's how you spell it, reveals its active listening software spies on user convos. Clients include Meta and Google. So what did happen here is that, sometimes you feel like your phone is listening to you or you talk about something and then suddenly you start watching this ad, like it just appears on your YouTube. Or, I was talking about somebody was talking to a friend and she says, well, tomorrow I can't, I'm playing tennis. And then suddenly Siri says, do you want to schedule tennis for tomorrow? I'm like, what? That's one story. Siri is one story. So this Cox Media is allowing or has the software that they use to listen for the apps to take over the microphone and the video camera. So they can see where you are, they can listen to what we're saying to further adjust the ads. So when this was revealed, Meta has removed it and Google has removed the Cox Media from their partners list right away. But they have been using it all along. So if you felt creeped out, probably, allegedly, now we were right about it. Now let's talk about Ukraine. Very, very, very sad. And let's first paint a picture first. So Lviv is really more closer to Poland than anything. They speak Ukrainian, they're Catholics, we're like Orthodox, right? The Christian Orthodox, they're Catholics, different churches, only speak Ukrainian predominantly. Food style is very different from Russia, more closer again to Poland. Now, beautiful land, beautiful castles, beautiful everything. Now, when the war started, people from eastern Ukraine, such as Kharkiv, all that region, started moving to Lviv. So Lviv really became that safety net, right? Where thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, moved there. So the option was, do you want to flee to Poland, then later Germany, or wherever you have maybe relatives or opportunity to be at, or do you want to go to Lviv? So if you're staying within Ukraine, Lviv is your safety net. Now today, Russians bombed Lviv for no particular reason. I mean, it's not connected to Russia. It's really, I mean, look at the map. It's really deep inside Ukraine. So what's the goal there? It has nothing to do with Crimea or anything like that. And so there was a family where this family, it's per advice, official advice, when you hear sirens, if you live in an apartment building or you live in a larger house, run to your staircase and be in the staircase, because then you have the two-wall protection. That's the whole idea there. Be near the elevator or near staircase. You need two walls to be between the two walls. And so this family, a beautiful mother, father, and three girls, three daughters, two adults and one a kid, that's them, they ran to this staircase and they hid there. And so then the father, girls started complaining that they want some water. And so the father ran to their apartment to get some water. At that point, Russian missile hit the building. The father was the only person who survived. That day, he lost his wife, his entire family. And if you listen to him, he was saying, why did I survive? How do I deserve it? So Zelensky, of course, now if you're at your phone or your computer, come closer. You got to read the subtitles, because he's going to speak in Ukrainian. He was welcoming Irish representative, and so he used the opportunity at the press conference to talk about that, and again to call for more opportunity to protect Ukrainian skies and for opportunity to strike inside Russia to prevent this type of strikes. Take a read here.
Нам потрібно, знаєте, дозвіл на використання далекобійної зброї саме від тих країн, які нам дають цю далекобійну зброю. І від них це залежить. І я вам скажу чесно, від коаліції всіх дружніх партнерів, всіх країн світу це не залежить. Це залежить від дуже конкретних держав. Сполучені Штати, Британія, Франція, Німеччина. На сьогодні тільки ці 4 країни або дають, або спроможні надати саме ту далекобійну зброю, яка нам може допомогти виштовхнути Російську Федерацію з нашої території, а також може допомогти нам зберегти життя цивільних людей у всіх містах. В Полтаві, у Львові, в Харкові, в Києві, в Дніпрі, в Кривому Розі кожного дня ми втрачаємо людей. І саме від цих 4 держав залежить наша сила в рішенні цих проблем.
So as you have read, there are 4 countries that are responsible to allow Ukraine to eliminate those targets. The point is to eliminate the military targets, the sites from where they launch the missiles on Ukraine. There is no way to, for instance, in Kharkiv, when it's launched right across the border, there's physically no way to prohibit those strikes. You cannot intercept it. It's too close in time. Also, people cannot be warned in time. So John Kirby, as you saw, he joined the conference. And a reporter asked him, you say, you're doing everything for Ukraine. Now, when can Ukraine strike inside Russia? Take a listen.
We condemned it yesterday and we condemn it today, what Mr. Putin's doing. Hitting civilian infrastructure, especially in advance of winter coming, knocking out energy grids. It's despicable. Unfortunately, it's a play right out of his playbook. It's not something new that he hadn't done before. Nothing's changed about our view that Ukraine should be able to use the tools it has available to it to defend itself. And that's why air defense continues to be a prominent issue in these security packages that we're giving, so that they can help defend against these attacks on their energy infrastructure. But
inside Russia, where these attacks are
I was getting there. I was getting all warmed up. I was getting there. I'm telling you, nothing's changed about our policy with respect to long-range strikes inside Russia and for Russian territory. I also think it's important to note, if I might, that 90% of the aircraft that Russia uses for glide bombs and long-range strikes, we've done the math on this, 90% of them lie outside 300 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, deep inside Russia. So the argument that somehow if you just give them an ATACMS and tell them it's okay, that they're going to be able to go in and hit the majority of the Russian aircraft and air bases that are in fact used to strike them is not true. It's a misconception.
So we don't foresee the change in policy ever?
I don't have any policy changes to speak to today.
I don't understand. It doesn't make sense for me. Am I dumb? I mean, maybe that will be a meme now. But anyway, I don't get it. So if you've done your math that 90% of the aircraft that hits Ukrainians is beyond 300 kilometers that you allow to strike in, isn't that the argument to allow Ukraine to strike beyond 300 kilometers? Where is the logic here? Where is the logic? Michael says it doesn't make sense. Yes. And Patty, yes. Hell, yeah, I get it. I get it. Patty also says, oh no, the story has had me in tears off and all that. Yeah, because I mean, we see this, the video, how he's being treated, the father is being treated, and meanwhile they like start hiding that the bodies of his wife and his girls are being dragged out of rubble. It's horrible. Doesn't make sense. If you made the math, why don't you act upon your math? You said this is the math. They have pictures of airfields. Yes, they do. And he says it. He says it. We've done the math. 90% is beyond 300-kilometer range. So why the heck aren't you allowing to strike beyond 300 kilometers? I don't understand. It's interesting to see Zelensky take a more aggressive tone with the U.S. Hopeful pressure makes a difference. He did that many, many times. It's often even reported less because he's very aggressive constantly. And so the media tries to kind of like space it out. But certainly, Zelensky sees that every day. He gets the reports and he sees that. And then he goes and visits those sites and where you have now dead civilians. 57 or whatnot. Yes, the 53 yesterday in Poltava. Today again, that's civilians. They had absolutely no relation to the army or military subjects. It's constantly hospitals, learning institutions, like schools. My school I went to, bombed in Kharkiv, doesn't exist. The university my grandfather built doesn't exist. Freaking insane. Anyway, let's talk about Afghanistan, since we're there somewhere. Getting down the hill. So representatives from Taliban, and I have a picture, I think, of a news article. Taliban delegation visits Eastern Economic Forum. So Eastern Economic Forum is underway in Vladivostok from September 3rd to 6th. And so Taliban has the official, delegation there. So Vice Chairman of Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce and a member of the delegation stated that we aim to explore potential collaborations between our countries, between Afghanistan, Taliban, and Russia, because Russia now recognizes them as certain trade partner. Because there's nobody trading with Russia, or just this type of states and regimes. They say Afghanistan is safe for everybody but women, right? Free from corruption and illegal drugs, and has a well-developed agricultural sector. We offer a favorable environment for Russian businesses to operate. The Eastern Economic Forum is underway. They're talking to different partners. Now, remember the report that I shared where women are prohibited now officially by Taliban in Afghanistan from speaking to men or looking at men, actually making any noise outdoors in public, or looking at a male while being hidden completely. That's Afghanistan. That's Taliban. But, for Russia, maybe that is the partner they want to deal with and they want to work with. So, unfortunately, that's how we end tonight. But, there's only way up from here, I guess. Tomorrow, VP Harris is traveling. President Biden is traveling tomorrow. He is continuing his Investing in America series. So he's going to be, I think, in Wisconsin, but don't quote me. It's in your email. Read it. And I am working on covering 2 events on Saturday. Let's see if I can do both, or I can do either, with Governor Walz, and another is with Doug Emhoff. 2 locations. So let's see if I can make it. And then we just progress through the week. We see each other tomorrow night. Hopefully we'll get some more positive news than today. But, unfortunately, when you present actual news, it will be actually disappointing at some point. So, but what we can do, that's what I really want to encourage you to do, is to protect your own well-being. Nobody can sink a ship that has no hole in it. Usually, when we experience difficulties, right? When we experience on a, let's say, global scheme and a national, it's very important to protect your own sunshine and your own peace. Because when all of that settles down, right? When Kamala Harris wins and the MAGA is defeated, whether it is now, maybe it is later, life continues. You have to be there for your loved ones. You have to be there for your friends, for your family, for your colleagues. And most importantly, you have to be there for you. So I really want to encourage you to make that your priority. That is your priority. Not the news, not the trends, not the likes, not the shares, not the social media, not the statistics. He said, she said, the news, mainstream media. None of that matters if you're not feeling well, physically, emotionally, mentally. None of that matters. None of those folks will reach out and say, hey, how are you? How can I help you? Nobody. So care about those who care about you and care about yourself, because you can be there for others when you well yourself. I know it has nothing to do with actual news, but I really want you to stay focused. It's very difficult. And trust me, I know it. I know it. My family knows it. Ukrainian situation keeps dragging. We just get worse and worse news. In the US, covering the election is pretty scary. Now, I'm joining national security briefings with things that I can't even share, about different developments. And it's very, very sad, very upsetting. But you have to find a will to live, and the will to live well, because then you can be there for others. Okay? So please stay safe and sane. Thank you very, very much for joining me. Read your email. Everything is listed there. And I'm going to see you tomorrow night for another actual news session. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Polls are stressful to do. Yeah, so don't. It's such a difference between, we have this saying in Eastern Europe or in Ukraine. My dad constantly says that promising to marry and to marry are 2 different things. So, promising to vote, clicking a button or answering on a survey, and actually going and voting for somebody are 2 different things. So we have a good ticket. We have a good ticket that you don't have to be worried about. So let's believe in them. Let's keep the faith. Let's do our work. And let's tune in. I think the debate, honestly, if you ask me, the debate will show it. Like, that will be just, I don't think you can cover it up at the debate. So join the party. We're going to watch it together, and then we're going to see it. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Carmichael. All right, so good night. See you tomorrow. Have a good night. And thank you for your support. Appreciate you.